Today on Everyday Ordinary, I'm going to share a clip with you from a phenomenal conversation that I did not expect with the tax preparer, Mr. Antoine Anderson. This is something that you do not want to miss. Please continue watching. We're going to move on to the next one. And if you've been following the discussion, you should pretty much know where we're going. So it's basically the pros and cons and examples of an S Corp and or a C Corp. You know, pros, why would you want to do it? Cons, why would you not want to do it? And examples of businesses that are best suited for that business model, you know, versus maybe one that's not so suited.
Yeah, so what happens is that, as I always say, you want to start as an LLC. You can start as an LLC in a lot of cases. Now, there are some cases, as mentioned before, that you don't start as an LLC. Like I said, investment groups, if you're starting a nonprofit organization, things of that nature, you don't start an LLC. You generally start with a corporation in that aspect. There are two types of corporations: a small business corporation known as an S Corp, a C Corporation, a closed corporation. What's the difference? A closed corporation pays taxes at a flat 21%. And they also pay on your state tax if your state is required to have a state tax on there, which is different than the individual. Some states don't have an individual tax, but they have a corporate tax, so you have to be careful of that. But there's a flat 21% now on corporations, and a lot of corporations took advantage of that when that was passed at the beginning of 2018 tax year. So you start off there and you have an S corporation, you file it on 1120S, and you put or your total income on there with your expenses, and you receive a K-1. That K-1 goes over to your personal tax return, and that's where the S corporation taxes are taxed on your personal side.
What is a K-1?
A K-1 is the form that's used to show the ins and outs that's left over after you take away your income and expenses for that business. So it may show if you had the net profit from the business or net loss. Net profit or loss from the real estate, if you had property management, if you had interest in the business, charitable contributions are sometimes reported on there. But what's also reported on there are distributions, monies you take from the business.
Okay.
And also that familiar term, basis, to make sure that you have enough basis in there to be able to take the loss. A lot of people want to start off with taking losses. Oh, I just want to start a business, take a loss. Let me say this. There's what you call a hobby loss rule. That means that if you take a loss 3 out of 5 years on your tax return, it goes across a revenue agent's desk. That doesn't mean you're going to get audited, but you are being looked at. So the Internal Revenue Service can come to you and say, that's great that you have this business. Keep it going. Just don't put it on your tax return, because right now that loss is lowering your tax liability, and we're like, no, we don't want that to happen. We want you to pay at the maximum amount as possible to help us.
Right.
So keep in mind about the hobby loss rule. Don't just open up a business to say, I want to open up a business to take a loss. No, you open up a business to make money. Name all the people that you see making money. Do you think they open up a business just to take a loss on their taxes? No, they did not.
Yeah.
So you want to look at some pros to doing that, having an S Corp. Some pros to having an S Corp and C Corp. You are separating yourself from the business, so that protects you on a liability. S Corporation, you can also use those profits to come over to your personal tax return when you're perhaps buying a home. Also, S Corporations, you don't pay a self-employment tax, but also you don't have any money going towards your Social Security, and you're living off that money, but you're not really establishing an earned income for yourself. Now, you have to be mindful of that. A C Corporation, you cannot take money out of a C Corporation only through a W-2 or through dividends. If you do take money out, that's where the coin phrase double taxation comes from. And the double taxation comes from you're going to get taxed on that money on the business side, and that same money you're going to get taxed on it as a dividend on your personal side. So that's what the coin phrase double taxation. So don't go to the double tax. Don't go to the C Corp if you're not ready to go to C Corp.
Right.
That's playing with the big boys.
Yeah.
Now, Why why do we say they're playing with the big boys? The big boys are loving the change to that 21%. Used to be under the old corporate tax structure because it was layered and an increase on a step up every time you make more money. A person that had a company that had a profit of $1 million, such as your tobacco companies, liquor companies, IT companies, the larger organizations, for every $1 million, they was probably paying about $400,000 to $600,000 in taxes on that $1 million.
Wow.
Now they only pay $210,000. So that's a $200,000 to $400,000 drop that they saved in taxes.
That's massive.
Did you hear what I just said?
That's massive.
That's $200,000 to $400,000 drop in taxes. So when you say they're upset that they're paying taxes and they don't want to get that tax raise from 21% to 28%, I guess they do not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to get it raised either.
Me neither.
So that is another positive pro that you'll look at a corporation for. When do I move to there? A lot of people open up different PRP, mental health companies that get paid, and they're making money hand over fist. The new day now is dispensaries that people are doing those. Those are probably going to be better suited in a corporate tax structure because they want to be on payroll and they want to limit the amount of money in tax. Keep in mind, the Internal Revenue Service said something that was most important, and this is why you want to get a good tax preparer. Don't take me, take anyone, but do your homework and make sure they know what they're talking about. But the Internal Revenue Service said, out of 100% of people, we collect on 90%, right off the bat, just off of letters. They said the remaining 10%, we collect on 90% of the remaining 10% by sending second, third letters and also, garnishments and everything else. They said of the remaining 10% of the 10% of the 10% that they did not, those are the ones that you hear all the questions about. Oh, I got a letter, I got to go meet with the Internal Revenue, they garnished my check and all that. Yeah, those are the ones.
Yeah.
So the success rate for the Internal Revenue Service is high.
Right.
You can't beat Big Brother, as they call them.
Big bro.
You can't beat them. So make sure you have your correct structure set up between corporations and S corps. Which one works better for you just depends on what you're trying to do in your business, where you're going. But what you want to start doing is also working with a good accountant to know that as you grow, they know when to move and change you from that structure so that you can save yourself. It's a holistic approach that I follow here at Anderson & Company. Your individual goes over to how you set up in your business, how your business sets up goes over into your investments and what you're going to do, and how does that come back to play to help you individually to gain your wealth through home ownership, investments, business, and things like that. So that's our coin that we follow. That's what we follow, that circular approach here at Anderson & Company.
Oh, man. Hey, look, I ain't gonna lie to you. I almost want to cut the camera and have a meeting and review some things. So, man, guys, this is a wealth of information that I wasn't privy to, and wasn't privy to not because only because I just didn't ask. And sometimes it's difficult knowing the right question. You can ask somebody all the questions in the world, and they could be all the wrong questions that don't give you what you need. But having the right questions, because some people really want to tell you, but they don't know what you want. And it's very difficult sometimes to find those questions. Just like in adventures that I've done and other things, it's difficult if I don't know what I'm looking for. When you know what you're looking for, you know what to ask.
Absolutely.
All that being said, guys, that was great. Really enjoy it. Any comments, any questions, please add it into the comments, and hopefully we can get to it and add some assistance.